Good morning. Good morning, Superintendent Rahanifer, Deputy Superintendent McCombs, and Board President Wilson. I am Ms. Phillips. I am the principal of Kramer School. I have been working for Camden, believe this, since I was 14 years old. And I started in this very school. So needless to say, I am very proud of this school, the teachers, the students, and all of the community that surrounds it. We have been in this community for over 100 years, and we are thrilled to see the progress that Camden has made through the Camden Commitment. So now, without further ado, we will start our program, and I will be introducing Superintendent Rahanifer.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for fighting this dreary weather to be here, and a special shout out to all the Eagles fans for having the wherewithal to pick yourself up this morning and to join us. There's so many partners to thank, so I'm not going to list you all off one by one, but seriously, thank you to the leadership of the city, our board members, our partners, and our staff, and even some students who are here joining us today, and you're going to hear from a couple of them. So just to jump in, it's going to be a brief presentation today, but we're going to cover a lot of ground. And here are the topics we're going to cover, and I'm going to share a lot of numbers with you today. And you're going to hear from some people today. This is Josh Sims and Lon Drennan and Jamira. Today's about progress. And we've made a lot of progress over these past 3.5 years. And again, I'm going to share some of the details with you. And it's been hard-earned progress. This has not come easy. It has been certainly, the past 3.5 years have been filled with challenges, but we've worked hard, we've kept our heads low, and we're pleased to be at a point where we can share some of these successes out with you. And we all know that in spite of those challenges, it's well worth it because our kids are worth it. And that is why every single person is in this room today, taking on the fights that you each take on, because our kids are absolutely worth it. Let me start with student safety. We survey our students every single year, and back in 2013, 39% of our students reported feeling safe in and around schools. And we do this again every single year. In this past year, 62% are reporting feeling safe in and around school. Renovations and new facilities. Half our buildings being constructed before 1928. Back in 2013, there were literally $0 assigned to significant renovations and new construction, and today there's $313 million dedicated to new construction or renovations. Tech support. You don't have to applaud after each one, just feel free, you don't have to. Tech support. A lot of challenges, and when we first started tracking the data here back in September of 2014, it took on average 41 days to resolve each request that we receive from a school. And today that number is 7 days. You look at chronic absenteeism, one of the biggest challenges we confront here. And chronic absenteeism is defined as students who miss 10% of the school year or more, so that's 18 days or more. And back in 2014 and 15, 38% of our students were chronically absent. And we've been able to chip away at that figure, and we're down to 31%. And along the same vein with truancy court, and we work really hard to avoid having to refer students to truancy court. It's one of our goals to reduce that number significantly, because the last thing we want to do is refer parents and students into the system. And so we had 36 referrals back in September of 2015, and that number is down significantly. It is down to 20 just this couple months ago. Thank you. Dual enrollment, so the high school students who are actually getting college credit on a college campus. Last year we had none, and this year we have 64 students who are earning college credits, one of whom is here with us today. Text alerts, so getting information directly to families. And the number of community members who were receiving it just back in 2014 and 15 was 0. And today we have 1,402 recipients of our regular text alerts. And so, let me take a moment and pause here. If you're not one of those 1,402 people, text yes to 67587. A home visit initiative. I think a lot of you all are aware that last year we had a small pilot where we were supporting 13 students who were missing a significant amount of school. So on the order of 50, 75 days plus, and these are families that were dealing with significant challenges, and we provide holistic support and care to those families. And beginning in January of this year, we are going to be supporting 200 students and families with weekly home visits in partnership with Camden Coalition of Healthcare Providers, HopeWorks, and some other local social service partners, and we're really, really pleased to move this project forward. Student transportation, a concern that we heard pretty frequently. And so when you look back at 2015, the number of high school students who lived 2 to 2.5 miles away that were receiving transportation was 0, and now we've changed our policies, increased funding, and that's up to 224 additional high school students that are receiving that transportation, which clearly has an impact in the way students feel, safety-wise, and just ensuring that they get to school on time. We've talked a lot about Camden enrollment, and so it wasn't that long ago there were 17 different applications for schools in the city of Camden, each with different timeline and criteria, and we are now down to just one application to make families' lives easier. Test scores. Grades 3 to 8 specifically on the new PARC test. The second year I should say, now that we have year-over-year data, and we have 120 more students who are proficient in math this past year, and in ELA, 240 more students are proficient on the ELA test. The dropout rate, and so this is new information for those of you that pay really, really close attention to our work. So back in 2012, roughly 1 out of 5 high school students were dropping out, 21%. And the most recent data, we've been able to clean it and finalize it, so today we're pleased to tell you that that number is down to roughly 1 out of 10, down to 12%. And so, this leads us into our graduation rate. Back in 2012, less than half of students in Camden high schools were graduating. And today, and again, this is just as of the last few days, that number is up to 70%. Each and every year for the past 3 years, our graduation rate has improved and our dropout rate has declined. And so you think about the fact that more students are staying all the way through, and that is a testament to our students' resilience, that is a testament to our staff's dedication. And we're just really, really pleased to be able to share that out with you. And another way to think about our graduation rate as it relates to the rest of the state, so back in 2013, the gap between Camden and the rest of the state was 37 percentage points. And now that gap is 17. And so that gap is declining. And the percentage point gap between Camden and state graduation rate for students with IEP specifically was 36 points. And for our most vulnerable students, our special education students, that gap has now declined to 14 points. We've made a lot of progress, and deeply, deeply grateful for your partnership and all you do to support our students. And so on that note, I want to welcome up one of our students to share with you his perspective. His name, if you don't know him, is Josh Sims. And as of Friday of last week, I think I'm getting this right, as of Friday of last week, Josh will be heading, he heard from Cornell University where he was accepted, early action. I've known Josh for a long time now, and I can't tell you how excited I am to share that news with you about Cornell.
Good morning, good morning. Hey, as the superintendent said, yes, I was accepted to Cornell. It was a very exciting experience to get that letter through email, and I will be attending there in the fall of 2017. But You know, when they asked me to talk about some of the increases we made in the district from my perspective as a student, and they told me to be honest, totally 100% honest. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Is that okay with you guys? Be 100% honest. They said year one to right now. So year one, if I can be totally honest, Mr. Rohanafart was like Camden's Trump. Like when he first came in, we was like, whoa, what? Who is this guy? Why is he coming in? Does he have the credentials? Blah, 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 blah. Let's fight, let's fight. We gonna walk out, we're gonna do all these marches. Ah! And then, you know, we had the layoff situation, and my teacher is a mother. I'm sorry, my mother is a teacher. And she was the one that got affected by the layoff, so, you know, you can imagine me. Thankfully, thank God she got her job back, but you can imagine me, I was like, whoa, you know. But now, 3.5 years later, he's all right. You know, we're pretty close. But on a more serious note, yes, I have seen strides in the district from my perspective. As you can see, the graduation rate has increased from 50% to 70%, and that's a thumbs up. That's a plus, you know. I had no clue when I was in middle school that kids didn't graduate. Like, I didn't know that half of my classmates wouldn't make it to the end. 50% is a really low number. You know, 70%, you know, we could still do better, but we got to thank God that we have rose 20%, and hopefully one day we can see that go from 80%, 90%, and maybe in a perfect world, 100%. And I think we need to be thankful for that. Also, one thing I noticed was the amount of the vast number of topics that is currently being covered in school. If you guys remember last year, I used to always talk about when I first took the PSAT, how I walked in, I had great grades, walked in with my chest pumped up. I'm gonna nail this test. I know so much stuff. I'm gonna do great. And then I looked at the test and I was like, wow, I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was like, why am I doing great in school, but I don't know the answers to this test? So, you know, I complained, sound like my mom when I didn't clean my room. Just kept on complaining. Like, yo, why don't we learn this? Why don't we know this? Why don't we know that? And it was just so funny. Recently, I was in brand practice, and I seen the freshmen doing their homework. And it was stuff I was studying when I was a junior last year. And this made me feel so proud. Like, wow, we are making strides in education. We're learning stuff at earlier ages. I saw one of the junior classes with my friend. She's a junior. I seen her homework. And it was an exact PDF file that I remember downloading and working on myself, and they're learning the exact same stuff. So I'm proud to know that the lower grades will not struggle as much as our seniors did to meet up to these standards, meet up to these tests. And one of the reasons you can probably say is, honestly, it might be Park. And be honest, Park has its pros and cons. Has its pros and cons, has its cons, but has its pros. You know, is Park the ultimate test to where it's like, oh, you take this test and you're going to be a genius? No, but I think one thing it did was, because it was so unfamiliar to us, you had to change your mindset in a school to take it. You know, when we first got the test, I remember classmates saying verbatim, we're not smart enough to take this test. That's what they would say. They would say, we just don't have the intelligence. This test was designed to make us fail. And, you know, the first time we took it, it was pretty rough. But last year, we buckled down. We're saying, hey, we're going to focus. We're going to really go hard on this test. And the results came in, and a lot of my friends had 80, 90 percentile scores. Kids in my school did better than other kids in the entire state of New Jersey. I think that deserves a hand clap. And what happened was we learned that, yes, we are, in the city of Camden, we do have some of the most academically bright students. And even though we have a hard test that was just forced upon us by the state and people wasn't ready for it, it doesn't mean that we can't learn the information. Now I have students that believe, hey, at first it was we're not smart enough. Now it's, hey, we're smarter than we think we are. And now we can push for Ivy League schools and things like that. We can do better. The final thing that I love about the school board now is that I've never felt so close to the superintendent and all the people that works within that loop. You know, I'm a part of the student representative board, And we talk about a lot of heavy topics, you know. School lunch is always on the floor for some reason, and I don't think it'll ever stop as much as they change it. But we also talk about issues such as the grading scale, what's going to happen with Camden High, how we want our classes to be set up. I actually do feel like that I'm in a real meeting and I'm actually making decisions. And when you bring up something, ideally it will be handled. Like I brought up one of the issues where that kids in the instrumental program were coming into creative arts unprepared because none of the middle schools have instrumental programs. I called every single middle school and elementary school in the city of Camden. Only like 3 said we have instrumental programs, and one of them was ran by the drummer who didn't know how to teach horn players. So I talked to the superintendent, and he was like, we'll see what we can do, and he followed up to it. He talked to community leaders in the city and asked for their advice, and I just can't wait to see the city capitalize on this, and I can't wait to see the results, and hopefully next year we can see more middle school music teachers coming in. That will make me so proud. And on a final note, I just want to say, you know, it's a lot of schools being built up and stuff, but I just want to say I've never felt more proud to be in a public school, let's say like that, to receive a public education, because only public education will be so supportive and in your face as this one is. As you can say, they have a holistic education. They'll go to your house, make sure you'll graduate. They care about you as a person, and despite how many things come up, just know I'm a full supporter of public schools, and I think you should be too. And I want to say thank you to the school board for being so supportive and working with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh, and congratulations again. I now want to welcome up Ilan Drennan. So Ilan is our anti-bullying coordinator, and she generally oversees all things social and emotional learning policy. So let me welcome Ilan.
Good morning. So I will admit I am a wee bit nervous this morning, but Josh has been a good person to follow. I want to be like him when I grow up. But thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm going to start with a story about one of my friends, a friend Michael, who is very near and dear. So as for Michael, he is one of the best people I know. He's charming and humble, brilliant. He is currently finishing up his last year at law school at Stanford and will finish with his MPP at Harvard next May. He was once a third grade teacher in Camden and won the hearts, minds, and respect of all the teachers and students in his building. He is reflective in his thinking, he's a mentor, he loves James Baldwin, he's an all-around great guy, a great friend. He is from a town in New Jersey, much like Camden with some of the challenges that it faces, and despite his success, he had some issues in school. Is there anyone that wants to maybe guess how many times Michael was suspended from school while in high school? Michael was suspended 29 times while in high school. That is the number of times and not the number of days. So on 29 separate occasions, Michael was excluded from being a member of his school community. And I've thought a lot about that since he once told me, because he's taken advantage of the exact opportunities that I'd hope our students could seize. This is not by any means an opportunity to eulogize Michael, but it has never sat well with me how close we came to losing his gifts. And when you know better, you do better. So I, along with colleagues and teammates across the district, am working to make sure we have the tools to do better. This includes making sure we have policies that reflect the nuance of what discipline means in schools. We're seeking a more just world for our kids, and that starts with how we treat them when they make mistakes, how we love them when they may not be at times lovable. we are in our second year of implementation of a code of conduct that encourages more restorative practices in our schools. Suspensions are down, and we are equipping parents and students with the rights and responsibilities guide that brings to life and makes accessible the rights our students are entitled to in our buildings. Parents and students need to be empowered to hold us accountable. We've also taken a greater stake in figuring out how to wrap services around our students who are re-entering from the juvenile justice system. We know that justice-involved youth have the odds stacked against them, and we are doing our best to identify these students and make sure that they make it back to school, know they are welcomed, and are set up for success. Using our early warning system, a data tool that our talented team at the district has provided, we can now use research-backed indicators to make sure we're getting the deepest interventions to the students who are trending toward dropping out. So based on indicators like retention, absenteeism, chronic absenteeism, course failure, and suspension, we will be able to work with schools to make sure that we support these students and their families in the ways that they need. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's making sure we get students what they actually need to be successful in our buildings. Our phenomenal attendance team is working diligently to assess the needs of our students and families and eliminate the barriers keeping them from coming to school. So approaching it not with, why aren't you coming to school, but what do you need to be successful? How can we help? We're getting training to the adults in our schools. We've opened up the conversation about race and implicit bias, what it means for how we treat our children, for how we treat the children that we educate. We need to be aware of how we're showing up in front of our students. Let's be clear, to teach our babies, we have to love our babies. Now more than ever, that is clear. In closing, what happened to Michael shouldn't have happened. There's nothing we can really do about it. I think he'll be okay. But the beauty of education is that each day is a new day and a renewed opportunity to pour into our students. We can't be complicit in putting their gifts at risk or potentially limiting their opportunities. Not knowing isn't good enough any longer. We need to be deliberate in protecting their futures by doing everything within our power to make sure they're able to share their gifts with the world. As a community, we are familiar with the things pressing on our students, both inside and outside of the buildings, both seen and unseen. There's a line from a book I read once. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, where a character says, quote, "Sometimes I can feel my bones straining under the weight of all the lives I am not living." Let's work together to ensure that is never a feeling felt by our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilan, for your commitment and your incredible leadership here in the district. I now want to welcome up Jamira Nguyen. So we're going to stay on a similar theme here in some of our efforts with trauma-informed care. Jamira is a senior at Bryn Medical Arts, and she's going to share with you her work with HopeWorks. Welcome up, Jamira.
Good morning, and I would like to thank the superintendent, the mayor, and also the city council president for inviting me here today. My name is Jamira Nguyen, and I am a proud senior at Bryn Medical Arts High School. I'm here to talk today on behalf of my internship with the youth healing team at HopeWorks in Camden. As a youth healer at HopeWorks, me and my 3 other colleagues actually go out and teach adults on how to deal with students that have actually went through childhood traumas. We give advice, tools, and personal cases to help better understand how students with trauma actually develop within our school systems. So during our traumas, we actually talk about something which is the Asus Survey. The Asus Survey is a 10-question survey that actually suggests how a student's lifetime can actually be planned out in a way. And the average ACE score for youth in Camden is about a 5. So that's pretty high. But that doesn't mean that a student cannot overcome any challenges that are placed before them, and that does not mean that they cannot succeed and that their parents do not love them. The circumstances that are placed before them actually shape and mold them into the people that they have become today, and it actually plans out how their brain works and handles stress. People who've experienced childhood trauma had to overcome a lot more to realize their full potential. Me personally, I have gone through a lot of traumatic experiences, but I did not let that define me as the person I am. But instead, I actually have overcome a lot, and I am proud to say that I am an honor roll student, and I have a 4.0 GPA, and thank you. And it doesn't just stop there. I am also a loving and caring person, and this is all due to my parents. My mother is actually a good, beneficial person in my life with all of the strength that she has brought within me. And I truly think from training a lot of the teachers within the Camden School District, it will actually benefit the students that are coming up after me. Because of all of the experiences that students have went through, it can actually mold them to be better people. Trauma-informed care students and also teachers will actually know that it's not that a student is bad, but it's that they don't know how to cope with their emotions. And that punishing a student is not always the right thing to do, but you should also try to talk it out with the student and hash out what's actually the underlying problem in their situation. Overall, I can actually say that this was a positive thing that I have been doing. And I know that without the support of my family, my school, and also with the HopeWorks community, I might not be standing here today. But to conclude, I would also like to say that nothing in life is ever given to you, and that you have to work hard for everything that you want. And that growing up in Camden does not mean that you cannot achieve more. It just means that you have a stronger backbone than most. We all deserve a second and fighting chance, and also another chance to succeed. And I would like to leave off by telling everyone that it's not where you come from, but it's also where you finish off. Thank you for this opportunity.
Just apologize to Jamira for mispronouncing her name. For someone who's had his name mispronounced more or less 100% of the time, I try to be sensitive to that. All right, just a couple speakers left. I want to welcome up a proud Camden parent and someone who actually works on our enrollment team, Shirley Irizarry.
Good morning. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Kramer School, for hosting us. And most of all, thanks to the parents, aunts, uncles, and grandparents in the audience. You are the ones like me who get up every day to give our kids a good life, a safe place to grow up, and the chance to go to a good school. That is why I'm here today. Last year, I stood before you all at Cattle School to share my story of how difficult it used to be for parents to choose which Camden school was right for their kids. If you were lucky, your kids got into a good school. But if you weren't, you didn't have any options. For me, I completed lots of different applications and traveled back and forth from the school 6 times before I was able to transfer my daughters to the right school. But my story wasn't unique, so I was hopeful when the superintendent said he was going to make choosing a public school easier. When he launched Camden Enrollment, I decided to apply to help other families choose the right school for their students. As an enrollment coordinator, I help parents learn about their options and apply to new schools. Since we launched last year, we have answered thousands of parent phone calls and helped nearly 5,000 kids find a new school. The Camden enrollment application for next fall will open in February. Parents who want help can visit our Family Enrollment Center at the central office or call us on the enrollment hotline at 856-536-3999. I am proud to be a part of the team working to give Camden parents more choices and help all Camden kids find the right school for them. Thank you.
All right, our final speaker, I have the privilege of welcoming up our board president, Martha Wilson. As Martha's walking up, I think most everyone in this room knows Ms. Wilson and her commitment to Camden and the work she specifically does on parent engagement. So let's welcome her up.
Good morning, all. First, let me congratulate Josh for your appointment to Cornell University. To Jemiah for the work that you're doing at HopeWorks and reaching back out to other students. The key is reaching back and pull them forward along with you. That's what I'm so proud of about our students in this district. I would like to thank Superintendent Rahanifer. Mayor Red has spoken in her remarks throughout the city when she makes comments about what's going on in our district in the last 4 years, the changes that have been made. I've been on the board for 17 years, and so I want to share the perspective. What I have seen is real change that is having a real effect. Change that is leading our students like Josh going to schools like Cornell. We haven't had a student graduate from our Camden schools to go into an Ivy League school in many years. We haven't had a graduation rate of 70% in years. So this is real change, and real change is hard, but it is right. It takes time for those changes to come about. And I want to say thank you, Superintendent Rahanifer, to you and your team for your commitment and your excellence in bringing our children forward in those percentage rates. Equity is a major key. That's a word that is being used across this country. And I'm glad to say that not only are we doing it on a national level, but in speaking about it, our superintendent put in place strands within our school district to make sure that equity is being heard and being dealt with throughout this system, not only with the students, all the way up to the superintendent's office. They meet daily. They talk about the things that they want to make sure that there are equity for each child and each person who works in this district. That's a major key. Take Camden High School. If we're going to do what's best for our students, we're moving this project forward. And there is no disputing that this project is now further along than it's ever been before. Superintendent and Mayor Dana Red are the two that we have to say thank you for continuing to keep this in the forefront. So there is more to do, and we continue to improve our technology, for example. And now, you know me, you're always going to hear parental involvement. That's who I am, that's where I came from, that's what I'm about. And I'm proud of the progress that we're making. I'm excited for the gains that we're going to make in the years coming ahead. Thank you, and continue to be a part of us as we continue to make strides and change for our children, for our staff, for the administration. God bless each and every one of you, and happy holidays to all.
All right, so just to close things off, I'm incredibly proud of the progress we've made, and I hope you are too. And at the same time, we have a lot of work to do, and I think everyone in this room knows that. And there are a number of different fronts where we're still not where we want to be. And it's one thing to celebrate 70% of your students graduating with a diploma. We all know that means roughly 1 out of 3 still aren't, and even those who are, many are showing up at colleges, taking remedial courses, needing that additional support. It's one thing to celebrate 62% of your students reporting feeling safe in and around school, which is a huge increase, but that means 38% of our students aren't feeling safe in and around school. And across each and every single one of these strands, and I'm sure we're leaving some off, whether it's bilingual supports or special education, we have a lot of work to do, and we recognize that. So today we celebrate the progress, yet we don't forget about the challenges ahead and the hard work that remains. So thank you all for being here. This is, again, hard-earned work. We're going to keep our heads low and continue to do it in partnership with you. Grateful for your presence here today and for all you do for children in Camden. We're happy to stick around and keep chatting. Take care.